like your upbringing, your childhood, like the things that you grew up doing or grew up seeing and how they were affecting your marriage now that you are an adult, with the
Right.
work that you're doing where you know have talked to probably hundreds of couples, do you
Right.
notice that the majority of the couples that are coming to you with these challenges, that those challenges actually stem from childhood?
Yes. Probably about 99.9% childhood, because that's the framework. That's the beginning of what I call your emotional disposition.
Mm,
What you have, what you're looking for in your relationship, the expectations in your relationship are framed in those early years, from infancy to about 11, 12 years old. All these things are happening. So there's certain expectations you have, certain emotional gaps. And it's, from my position, it's so predictable that when someone tells me what they're going through, I'm I already know, for the most part, probably about 80% of the time, this person has had this in their relationship. So if I'm counseling someone and I ask them, okay, what are you experiencing in your relationship now that's challenging? And they may say, well, I'm not heard. I don't feel like my husband or my wife listens to me, et cetera, et cetera. You trace that back to childhood. What was your emotional experience like with your mother or your father? You're going to hear some unheard, neglected,
mm,
unloved, that type of same disposition. And it's repeated in our adult lives, in our emotional connections, because we're not aware. That's really where it's at. And this is not years of therapy, right? This is just being aware
mhm,
that this trigger, this behavior, this what I call emotional gap, is the same thing you experienced in childhood. Because typically, subconsciously, we're looking for a relationship that is similar, either in traumatic experience or caregiver experience. So we tend to repeat processes. But again, if we don't know, that's when the real challenge is. But being aware, that's when you're able to leverage that and realize, okay, I'm doing the same thing, feeling the same way. And you're self reflecting. And that's really the key in terms of communicating. First, communicating with yourself. Most of us don't know why we're upset. We haven't even investigated if it's valid. We just react. And so when we react without thought, that's when we create all these problems, because we can react from a negative past traumatic experience, thinking that your husband or your wife said that and they meant what you felt. That you may have felt they didn't love you. Well, that stems from your childhood, more than likely, in terms of those emotional experiences. All of that plays into what you're feeling. So I like to tell my couples, challenge your feelings. Don't just accept them
mhm.
as truth, because it's really, it's a chemical reaction. There's no real truth to it. Majority of times it is unfounded. Sometimes you realize, okay, I'm just hungry. I'm tripping. I need to settle down. It's things like that that you realize, okay, I'm just in the funk today. And when you realize that, you are able then to have more control, because you're not taking those emotional signals as truth and feeling like I need to tell you, et cetera, et cetera. Pulling back. Why am I feeling this?
Mhm.
Asking yourself those questions.
I know you deal a lot with communication. Would you say that communication is the root of the majority of the struggles that couples are coming to you for assistance with?
Without a doubt. Number one, like you, if I had $100 for every time I saw communication was a need, it is one of those things that we don't even realize, because it's your relationship. How do you experience your partner?
Mhm.
And most of us communicate from intention. And the intention is the expectation. I said this, I expect you to know this. Reality is, intention is not your partner's experience. So you have to reflect it in terms of, how am I delivering this?
Mhm.
Are they able to hear what I'm saying, receive what I'm saying, versus just intending what I thought you knew that. You should have known. I said that last week. Well, here's the challenge. You've been thinking about that last week, but your partner somewhere else mentally. So it's okay to remind somebody. So that those type of interactions, small, minute, little interactions create an emotional connection more or distance.
Mhm.
So these are deep things that happen, and it amazes me even when I have a couples who may come in and it may be infidelity. And this is just from my observation. People get upset over the most trivial things more so than the big ones. We can't talk, and it's arguments over it. And typically, big arguments start over something very, very small. You
Mhm.
move this, you said, and now we busting out the seams because first off, the way we communicate is so bad that it creates this emotional perception. So you go into the conversation with this narrow view of your partner already, and because of all the negative experiences you've been having. So it's like compounded interest, basically.
Mhm.
Every time you have a bad experience, it compounds. So the goal is intentional good experiences. That's what I work with couples on in terms of coaching, because the intentional good experiences will create a good emotional experience. But if we're not thinking about, I got to do this for my relationship consistently, we're going to have a lot of negative experiences. And that creates these tense moments. So if you move the shoes, or if you move the keys, and now World War III going on
Mhm.
because of all of these negative experiences compounded. So it is your communication. I mean, intimacy, communication, your money, communication, feeling like I can talk about my issues or my challenges, communication. If I'm working through something emotionally, mentally, can I come to you? That's going to be based on how I experienced you in the past. If your spouse is supportive as a man, he ain't going nowhere. I mean, because no one is.
Mhm.
So when you find those moments, like you see these little clips, I always replay clips on that I see on these little videos of scenes where a woman is embracing her husband, showing support. And I tell you, it's like guys, just like, man, that's real. It's because they need it, they want it, they desire truth. Like, can I come to you with my problems, and you are strong enough? When I say strong enough, I mean understand this. You're going to catch me, uh, and understand and realize this is not a personal attack against you. And that's what, again, childhood experiences. If you were if you were always the scapegoat, or you were always the person who got in trouble, last thing you want to hear is you did something and
Mhm.
take it personal. In reality, this man is just trying to figure out what he's going through, because life does that to you. The older you get, you hit about 40 as a man, things change drastically. You start pulling stuff in and taking real good views of your life, and measuring up yourself with what you wanted to do, where you're at. And generally that's when men have a lot of, what, midlife crisis, etc. We call, and a lot of emotional experiences is usually late 30s, early 40s, because of that realization of pain, or hey, this has been a great relationship because I can talk.
So you mentioned infidelity. We gotta go back there because that is, I don't know if I want to call it a hot topic, but it's a common topic that comes up, where we talk
Yeah.
about, should infidelity be a deal breaker? If your husband, cheats on you, if it is there a difference between, you get cheated on one time, or this is a habitual cheater? Did he, have sex with a random woman on a Saturday night, or does he have like a girlfriend on the side? There's so many conversations just out there
Right.
on the internet about infidelity, and as someone who deals intimately with couples
Yeah.
who are, sharing their truth and talking about their experiences, I want to find out from you, how is infidelity linked to childhood trauma?
Generally, from my experience, and I say this statistically from people who I've talked to, every one of the couples that I talk to who experience infidelity, habitual infidelity, there is abandonment in this person's life, the man's life or the woman's life. Neglect. So dad can be present, but not present. You can know who he is, but you can't get access to him. Where you as a kid long for him. Grew up, I was same scenario with me. Abandonment issues, childhood challenges. Everyone who has abandonment issues won't is to say, okay, you're going to commit adultery or you're going to commit, you're going to be infidel, you're going to have infidelity. There's some dynamics that go through that, but everybody, men wise, who come into those situations, 100% of all the people I've talked to, all have those neglect issues, and so they're looking for acceptance and someone to want them. That feeling is, again, based on those experiences, because your emotions don't age. Your mind ages, your emotions don't. That's why you still feel the pain as a kid. So it's realizing that 6-7-year-old boy is who you're married to. That's who you're communicating to. So just like if you got a 5-year-old son and every time he came home, would you berate him? Or would you be conscious enough not to? Because you know it's going to affect him mentally. So that's where we have to come into perspective, and vice versa. That 5-6-year-old young girl, that's who you're married to, talking to emotionally. We never evolve from that state. Again, we're binary, emotional and rational. Your mind grows, right? It can mature. You can learn more things, better skills. Emotions, it's like this. It's no elevation of it in terms of experience. So it is a huge impact in relationships. If a man is in a relationship and he has a negative experience where he feels his wife is coming against him, that's going to affect him. That's the challenge. How do I handle feeling neglected and unwanted in the house?
So how do
So
they
when,
handle it? Because if
well,
if
most,
they come to
go
you
ahead.
and you say, and you help them identify, okay, this is truly the root. Like this is the result, but the root is this childhood abandonment thing that you might not even recognize.
Right,
What is that's part one of the session. That's the first half. Okay,
right.
let's get to the root. You recognize it now. What do we do from here?
So we process it. Like we realize that first of all, if I'm talking to somebody in that situation, I'm asking, they realize it. So now when you first off, it's understanding. You're going to feel like your wife doesn't want you still. Does your wife want you? Yeah. We're asking these questions. She's supporting that same verifying that same experience. So now when you feel like you need to be wanted, or here's the other one, you are very excited that someone wants you. That's your Achilles heel. That's what you stay away from.
Based on what you've seen, the challenges that you've helped couples work through, do you recommend that all couples, like prior to marriage, go through some form of premarital counseling?
Yes, my goodness, yes. Oh my goodness, yes.
So, any final words, Jimmy, for the people?
Just I would say focus on your communication. If your communication is bad and you're struggling with it, it doesn't get better. You lack information because communication is a learned skill. This is not because I love you. You got to know and learn how to communicate. So this is not automatic. You have to learn it. So I would say make sure that you are learning communication skills so that you can build a better experience for your partner or your spouse.